here, and it is Centennial Hall, and I think we've got our live stream. Welcome. Appreciate you being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All righty. We're going to get into all of it here. We've got a nice amount of time to talk about it. So first, let's get a little bit of an origin story of you and your husband, Jason, and just kind of entering into the space of entrepreneurship here in Erie. How did that all started?
Yeah, sure. So I was a big beer drinker growing up in high school, way back when.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say it was that long ago, but it was. My husband is younger than me, so I kind of introduced him to the product. And he went up to visit, we went up to visit my brother in Michigan, who at the time was a home brewer. And so he shares this story, so I'm not afraid to say it, but he's like, I'm sitting down in the bathroom and I pick up a home brewing book and I am shocked. He is shocked about, like, I can create a product that is what is beer, and he couldn't believe that real people actually did this. And so they brewed a beer that weekend. He was super pumped about it, and later that year I bought him a home brewing kit for his birthday.
Kind of one of those that they used to sell on 12th Street?
Yeah, we literally bought it. I literally bought it on 12th Street.
Was that Beer House or something like that?
Yeah, International Beer House.
Yeah.
So I bought him a beer kit for his birthday, and interestingly, this will lead into Centennial Hall, but he had been in bands all his life and played the bass, and that was his life. And then once he found brewing, he put down his bass and very literally never picked it up again.
Well, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. What were some of the bands that he was in? Would I know him?
So his first band was Hearst, which came out of Albion. It was like his high school band.
Yeah.
But Pegasus Unicorn, he played in Pegasus
Okay.
Unicorn with Bob Jensen and John Yoakum, Josiah, and Matt Shimek. So Josiah Howitt and Matt Shimek. He was the bassist.
Had you two thought about doing business at all up until kind of like I'm making some home brew, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say we were 24 years old.
Okay.
So we were not very old. We were in the middle of a family. We had 2 kids at that point. So I would say no. To be honest, we were actually looking to move abroad. I was trying to get a job in Ireland and had a couple interviews, and that was kind of where we were headed.
Yeah.
Until we won a homebrew contest, and then we decided. I mean, I don't know what you're allowed to say on air, but I literally said, let's...
Well, can't say that.
I can't say that.
Yeah.
I literally, those were the words. And
Yeah.
I said, let's do it. Let's do a brewery. Let's make a brewery. And we just started from there and just went. It was like a giant snowball that just started and went downhill.
So you went from winning a contest to this is a business.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very fast. We were both from the nonprofit world, so we never even were in like a for-profit business world. We took care of vulnerable individuals, so it wasn't even in our realm or perspective of like life at that point.
Amazing. Okay, so tell us a little bit about that journey of Lavery Brewery. You know.
Yeah, so again, I gave him the homebrew kit. He won the contest. I started looking for grants or just financial backing at that point. We had no idea how to do this. And we came out with a small grant from, I want to say the EDC, to help us get things rolling. And we ended up chatting with Chris Sirianni over at the Brew Erie. Mm-hmm. And he kind of saw something in us, which we were super grateful for. And he allowed us to start brewing in his brewery under something called an alternating proprietorship. Okay. And so what that means is we basically owned his brewery on a Sunday from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m., which is how the laws had to say, like, this was someone's brewery at this time and then another brewery.
So you were complying with PLCB and all that
correct.
stuff. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we brewed on Sundays, and then he bought all of our beer and sold it over his counter until we started getting a little bit more grounded and a little bit better at our process. And then we were able to purchase our location at where we are currently on 12th Street.
So again, I'm trying to track with this trajectory here. You went from home brewing to connecting with Chris, doing basically fractional brewing kind of thing, and that led you to being able to buy the old fire hall.
So we are not in the old fire hall. Okay. Where we are currently, 128 West 12th Street, was an old plumbing supply warehouse.
Okay.
The fire hall is right next to us.
Gotcha.
So Cat TV and then the fire hall.
Okay. All right. I my mistake there. So, but you were able to buy that building right there on 12th Street.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we bought our floor.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And my understanding is that you've grown even while you've been there, right?
Yeah, so we were lucky enough about 2 years ago, Hungry Howie's was in front of us, and that gentleman knew we were kind of looking around and thinking about expanding, and he said, "Hey, do you want to buy this portion of the space so that you can expand?" And he gave us about a week to decide, and we couldn't turn that offer down, because who gets to expand in their own space without having to move across town or into another county, which we actually did and failed at as well. So we ended
did you have a second location at one point then?
Yeah, so we didn't purchase. We were working with the Titusville at the old Blue Canoe building, Five Sons. Yeah. Titusville owned this space, and they lost their tenant, and they asked us to come in, and we opened a brewery there right before COVID hit. And then COVID hit, and it was financially not stable enough for us to maintain that new space. So we had to let it go, which was probably one of the hardest days of my life. Wow. But we learned a lot from that. And so when this offer came to expand in our own space, we felt really comfortable saying yes.
Can I ask, again, we talk to a lot of business people here. Is it difficult to have that second space because generally the owners can't be in two places at once?
Yes, and we are the two only owners. We did have a partner previously that we did. He did leave the business, but yeah. So Jason would drive out to Titusville, and I would stay home in Erie with our current space and obviously our growing family. And so he would be out there and then have to drive an hour home, an hour back. And so it was a challenge, and we determined that that's not something that we would ever do again, because it is hard. You can't split things up, and I think you wear too many hats, and then the things that you care about really suffer after you kind of expand in those alternate spaces.
Yeah, so you almost need some kind of model where that store manager, if you will, is just so trusted and so in line with your values that it would work. But that's hard to find.
It is. And in Erie, we have that. Our team, even the team that we had during that time, we trusted. They were wonderful. We still trust them. We have a lot of balance in life because of them.
Nice.
We were still trying to find that in Titusville, and because of the COVID situation, we weren't able to seal the deal or find somebody. Actually, we had just hired a manager that we felt we would get there, and then we had to shut down.
I got to ask you, because it feels like maybe in the last 6 to 12 months we've reached peak craft beer, where maybe it's plateauing, not just in Erie, but literally across the country. You've read the trades. What's your take on all that? And are you guys still growing?
So yes, it's interesting. We were just chatting about this. The current generation is a little bit slower to come to find what they want to drink, to do anything. The trend is, I think people are just being a little more picky. I do think that there has been some closures, but more so from those second expansions that have been occurring, similar to what I just spoke about. So when we see trends and the business is closing, it's not so much that the beer is suffering. I think it's only down, I would say 3% within the last couple years.
You're talking about globally?
Even nationally. So it's not huge number, but when people see the closures, it's typically those secondary locations that people were like, ooh, yeah, we should open a second space. This is going so well. And then they realize they've expanded and pushed beyond what they can actually do and then pull back. So
the flagships seem to be doing well, and maybe the activities coming out of that, whether it's bottling or what have you, but not necessarily these huge networks, if you will.
Yeah, no, and I think the trend too is some of the breweries are combining, so they're actually some of the better, more well functioning breweries are seeing really good products and then like purchasing the smaller breweries. So it again looks like things are closing, but really they're just kind of merging and coming together as a conglomerate.
All right. I'm going to take my first break here. We're going to get to the expansion into a music hall here. I think it's going to be pretty exciting. You are tuned to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show as we talk to Nikki Lavery here about Centennial Hall coming up here. Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, talking to Nikki Lavery here. They are bringing on board, or have already brought on board, Centennial Hall. We're gonna make this switch now from the Lavery Brewing Company and now the expansion into live music. But you said you've been kind of doing this now for a while at the Bunker. So give me the Bunker story.
All right. So back in 2020, we started. We purchased a large warehouse space behind the building.
Oh, okay.
Behind, when I say the building, behind the brewery. The entrance is on 11th Street, and we utilize that space both as overflow when we had to spread people out. It is, one room is actually heated, so we were able to utilize that 6-foot rule. Be able to allow.
You're still dealing with COVID.
Still COVID. This is COVID really created a lot of opportunities, I guess, for us. I'll put it in a positive spin because we had to really think outside the box. So the Bunker allowed us to have some overflow, people 6 feet apart, but still heated because we know Erie and its weather. It's very basic space. Really doesn't have plumbing, anything like that. So we had to do porta potties or people walking back and forth. But that space we ended up making a stage and really having some really just basic music events. Most likely probably starting with the Mulligans, who come and play for us every year on St. Patrick's Day and halfway to St. Patrick's Day.
That's not where Bill Clinton appeared.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was where Bill Clinton appeared.
Yeah, so we had Bill Clinton in the Bunker. Yes.
Okay. I was there in 2024, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the Bunker.
That's a nice space.
It's
big.
It's very big. So we were looking at renovating that space, adding plumbing, adding sewage, bathrooms, bars, etc., really building the foundation, and the numbers were growing and growing and growing, and it didn't have a water line into the building, so there was just a lot of hurdles to kind of cross. When we were ready to actually start asking for loans, when Bob Jensen from Basement Transmissions called us and said, hey, I'm selling my building, maybe you should come look at it. And it was literally everything we were going to do and renovate in the Bunker. So it was a win-win-win in multiple ways. All
right. So tell us a little bit about the history of that building. It's a historic building, is it not?
Yeah, it is. So it was. I talked to the Erie historian who works for the city, and he did a little background, and it was an original apartment building back in 1907. I have a photo of it in Centennial Hall now, when the church bought it.
Which church was that?
I want to say it was the...
Was it the First Baptist?
It was not for... So,
okay.
I'm really bad at names, but the church is now actually located near our home on Zimmerly Road. They relocated to... It's a very large church on Zimmerly, and I should know what it is because I vote there.
First Alliance.
Yeah,
Church.
First Alliance.
They were downtown.
So they were the original church at that space, and then they renovated it into a church space. They were there until about 1975, 1976, when a couple other churches kind of went through there until I want to say the Roadhouse came in, and it became the Roadhouse Theater for a while. I'm not sure the years. I'm not really good at that. The Roadhouse closed. The bank actually bought it, and then Bob Jensen bought it from the bank back in, maybe 2018, 2016.
Now, when he called it basement transmissions, but they weren't just in the basement, were they? Or did they use the upstairs too? I mean,
again, funny story. This is the links. Basement Transmissions started off as a record label. So it was a record label that Pegasus Unicorn was being produced under, which is the band that my husband and Bob were in. And so it started off as the label, and then when they broke apart, Bob and I don't know the whole story, so I don't want to be inaccurate, but I know that he created a space under the name of Basement Transmissions, I think at the PACA building, and then that's when he transferred to where Centennial Hall is now, and created Basement Transmissions there. So he just kind of took the label and then made it a space, a real space.
Yeah. The and so what transpired as far as what it needed for it to be something that you can use for what your vision for music hall was. Again, how did you develop that music hall vision first, and then how did you transfer that onto that space there, which is now Centennial Hall?
I feel like we just wanted a similar but different vibe from our brewery. So when we were thinking about the bunker, we wanted it to be an event space that would be eclectic, open to all the genres, open to all events. We were considering like a mezzanine and really trying to make it like a really cool, unique space in Erie. So when we went into Basement Transmissions and we looked around, the bones were and the foundation were already there. Bob did such a great job. The stage was amazing. The floor was amazing. We had the layout of where the lights could be. And so...
how are roofs in an old building like that? Because you always get worried about the roof, right?
So we were very lucky. Bob redid the roof the year before we bought it. So funny enough, though, when we walked in, Basement Transmissions actually had a drop ceiling. And so the drop ceiling, everything was very dark. Everything was kind of painted black. It was a very unique, it was made for a very unique genre that group fell under. And it was great. They utilized it well. When I noticed that this original ceiling was actually an arched amphitheater ceiling.
Oh my, wow.
And so we went up and started peeking at it. And I said, we definitely need to have this ceiling for real. Like, it's coming back. The drop ceiling is leaving. We're going to fix it. I don't care what it takes. And we pulled the ceiling down, and the trusses are held up by beautiful brick columns, and the ceiling was actually not that bad. We did our contractor did a really great job fixing the pieces that were not great, but the ceiling is beautiful. It's one of the most amazing parts about the whole new space.
I'm excited to hear about more of it. We've got to take our bottom of the hour news break here. Nikki Lavery is with us here. It's Centennial Hall. We're going to find out all about this new music space here in our community. Stay with us. It's Joel Natale Show here on Talk Erie. You're tuned to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. Nikki Lavery is with us. It's Centennial Hall. We're getting the whole story again. Lavery Brewing Company, her and her husband Jason, and having the opportunity to now take over what was the former Basement Transmissions. And really, there's a lot of heritage in that space, wasn't there, Nikki? I mean, as far as for live music and just being a place for art and music, right? I mean,
I think that Bob's vision was really to allow the community to come in and feel free to create their art and not have and have a really safe space for the art community. And I think that he excelled at that. And I hope that we can, take that and just kind of bump it out a little bit to not just like the Erie community, but like expanding into the larger region, so that the larger region can now see the community here in Erie and really embrace the amazing things that we have going on here.
Let's talk about, you mentioned that you did a roof overhaul because you saw the vaulted ceilings and so on. And again, so you needed a plasterer, somebody knew what he was doing there. What else did the building need to get it to kind of your vision?
So a couple of the updates that we're either have done or in the process of doing are, we updated the bathrooms. The bathrooms were kind of like plywood and kind of outdated, so we redid all the bathrooms. The electric work in there was pretty significantly expansive, I would say. Over 100 years, there was a lot of things that people just kind of left and redid and like overdid, and so we pulled a lot of that out and really updated a lot of those. New paneling, new electric, new lights. We put in new lights, new sound. We bought a brand new sound system. So we actually Bob originally had the forward hall sound system in the space, which we kind of negotiated in our purchase, but we decided that we needed to upgrade a little bit. So we still have those. We're probably going to be selling them, but we just purchased brand new arrays, and so we have new arrays. We put the subwoofers on the floor under the stage. We shortened the stage a little bit, though it looks bigger because we took all those speakers off of it. So now it's just a stage. We're going to update the loft. We're going to put in new windows. We had an HVAC system going to be put in on Tuesday, but something got messed up. So we should have air conditioning in the building within the next week.
Had it had air before or not so much?
It had a system, but I don't know when the last time it worked.
Okay.
So we're putting a brand new air conditioning unit in, and then we're adding, we have the front bar, which was in the main hall, and then we're adding a second bar in the back, and then we'll eventually add in a commercial kitchen. They had like a little snack shop, but we're going to put a commercial kitchen in for like future events and like small snacks and things.
Talk about when was the opening? Like, have you had a soft opening, then you had a big event on Sunday? Talk about like the most recent events now.
Yeah, so last Friday we did have a soft opening with close family and friends, people that have really supported us throughout the years. So we had about 150 people in on Friday just to work out kinks and to see how things ran, which went really well. We had a couple local bands. We had Vices. We had... I'm going to forget the one. Our friend John Nolan is in a country band. I'm going to say it wrong, so I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
And then we had our friends play Fox Grotto, so we had 3 bands. Sorry, John Nolan, I apologize. So we had 3 local bands play. They allowed us to really work out some of the kinks in the sound and really practice because it was a brand new system,
Sure.
New lights, etc., new bar system. So that was great. Friday, everyone loved it. People walked in and were just shocked. We're not in Erie. This doesn't feel like this is here. That we feel like we're in a bigger city.
Isn't that an amazing reaction when you experience something like that? It's like, wait, this doesn't feel like it's Erie. Like there is, and Erie can have nice things.
We can have nice things. That's what we want Erie to have nice things, which is kind of like, our internal mantra, Jason and I. We want Erie to have nice things because we want nice things. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we like nice things, and so we just decided to make those things. Wow. But that was a lot of the reaction and just the beauty. We enhanced the beauty of the space as it was. We didn't change a whole lot. We just made it revert back to its original glory, I would say.
Why Centennial Hall? Where did that come from?
Centennial Hall. So we kind of bounced around some ideas, and Centennial is, I think it's a double-edged sword. It's a 100-year-old building, so Centennial seems accurate. But Centennial is also a hop variety that's in our flagship beer, which is Dualcon. So we felt that it encompassed both our brewery and both the buildings. So we thought that it was a pretty accurate description of of the hall and how we felt about it.
So then on Sunday you kind of had a grand opening, huh?
Yeah, so Sunday was our grand opening. We had the Menzingers, which is oh gosh, I can't say it. Pop punk band, sorry, excuse me, from Scranton, Philadelphia area, and they have a huge following. They've been around for maybe the last 20 years, and it's one of those bands where when you hear their songs, you're like, I know this band. We sold out. I don't know if I want to say how many tickets, but basically we sold out. The building was packed. We had a great show. The bands were amazing working with us. They knew that they had never played Erie before, and they had always wanted to, and didn't really find a space for it. So they were pumped to come here. And they really worked with us with the sound and like giving us some really great suggestions for improvements. They found that we did everything really well. They're like, hey, you could try this. Hey, you could try this. And it was a great relationship builder. And we really had a great show.
Is it one of your aspirations, or maybe you've already reached it, where you want to have this venue, this club, as kind of a parody club that a band like from Scranton or Philly would come to Erie, like they would come to Pittsburgh, come to Cleveland, kind of like what Keller's is doing, where, the comics come to Keller's because they know they're going to have a good experience. The club bands will come to Centennial Hall because it's going to be a good quality experience. Is that what we're shooting for here? Yeah, that's kind of
our hope. We really, I think people bypass us and go to Buffalo, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, but I think a lot of the bands really want that smaller feeling of where it's packed. People know you. They're really excited to play. It's somewhere they've always wanted to play. They're coming back to the smaller local, I almost like local war scenes, right? Yeah. Where they started. They want to feel that feeling again. The Menzingers kind of shared with us on Sunday, this was the first venue that they were going to play without barriers. And people were right up to the stage, and they were so pumped about that feeling. And so I Am the Avalanche actually shared this with me, maybe not the Menzingers, but they were like, we're so excited to actually see the people and have them be a part of the experience instead of being so far back, because they can't even see their fans. So that was one of the main points I took from that, was that he's like, we want to feel it, and we felt it. And then afterwards he's like, that was amazing. Like, we had a great time. So I really do think that, I think that we can hold our own with some of the smaller venues in Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Cleveland, now with this space. And I want to pull in those regional bands, national touring bands. We just had a great show on Wednesday. Leilani Kilgore from Nashville. She's a blues rock. She was a blues rock band, and she was great. The show was not as well as attended. I think, again, the hardest thing I think we're having is getting the word out that we're here, and we have some really awesome shows. So I want Erie to, like on a Wednesday, if there's an awesome show, come out. The shows are over by 10. You're home by 10:30, right? Yeah. It's still a great day. Yeah. So
talk about how the booking works. I've booked several shows in the genres I've worked in, and the booking agent, or the promoter, I should say, promoter takes all the risk. Are you guys acting as promoter, or are you allowing the venue to be used by other promoters to bring in bands? What are you thinking about all that?
Yeah,
stuff?
A little bit of A, a little bit of B. So Sunday's show, we actually let we worked with a local promoter who helped us with that, because it was something that was so new to us. And so he took a lot of that risk on, knowing that the reward was going to be there, because we sold out in wild fashion. Whereas the show Wednesday was our show. We were the promoter. We were the venue. And again, as a learning curve, we're still trying to work out some of those kinks. So we took on all the risk. Mm-hmm. The hope is that we can eventually be our own promoters and hire somebody to bring in some of those bands, but also still work with the local promoters, because they've done a really nice job about bringing in genres that they like, and not just what we like. So we want it to be eclectic. We want people to feel comfortable bringing in their music, not just our music.
What was some of the feedback from the attenders to your first couple shows here? What are people telling you? Just they're normal Erieites saying, "Oh, there's live music here."
I mean, again, you just heard somebody share that the show was amazing. They couldn't believe that it was Erie. The space was beautiful. Even though it was literally a packed house, it was still comfortable enough to move around. The one feedback we got was it was hot. I mean, with
you're working
with
on
multiple
the
bodies,
HVAC,
and we are still working on AC, bringing AC in. And we were at that time 2 days out from AC. So luckily the weather was still a little bit cooperative, but we're definitely going to get AC in there. So I think the feedback was great. We didn't hear any complaints. Mm-hmm. People got in easily. We worked with local security who did an amazing job with the crowd. All my kids were working that night. My team at Lavery's was working, and everything went smoothly. This wasn't our first rodeo. It was just one of the biggest rodeos that we ever had. So as of yet.
Well, and I'm again, maybe I'm not as are there a lot of these type of venues regionally? Because I know there's several bars and venues will have local artists, and this guy's playing at Oasis, this guy's playing at Poverty Knob or whatever. But this is like a music venue. This is at a different level.
Yeah, I think that while we really want to continue to support local, and we will definitely still have those, and also encourage our local bands to open. We just got a show in July 31st. We're having a really popular young lady who plays the bagpipes, Allie the Piper. She's going to be coming in July 31st. Really, really popular. And we just asked the Mulligans to open because of the Celtic connection.
Sure.
So we want the local bands to still be able to play, still get recognized when we're allowed. Sunday they said no, we're only doing ours and we're done. It was also their last show of their tour, and they were ready to be out. But we really want to encourage the local bands and still have those local pockets and those local festivals that we have. But we want those regional shows. We want to be that space. We want to be the Mr. Smalls or the Electric City, and bring in those bigger bands and have them bypass Cleveland and come to us, or have them bypass Buffalo and come to us instead.
And you're saying you want eclectic, right? So I mean, we might see a country touring gig, or
sure.
An R&B kind of hip hop.
I actually think we have a big country band coming in November, and I actually do not remember the name of that band.
Okay.
But yeah, we want country's a huge draw. The last country band we had one of the biggest local shows that we had before we even transitioned into Centennial Hall, into the new space. So country, we had some rap artists reach out to us. We've had some DJs come and do some shows. When I say eclectic, I truly mean we want all of it, and we want to make sure that everybody is heard and everybody has a space, as respectfully, right?
Yeah. Well, you and the attendees have to be respectful of the space as well. It's we're not going to come and trash your space. We're gonna have fun and all have a good time. And what do you think as you kind of are turning this page? You're not foreign to this type of business. Yet, for the last, 14 years, 16 years, you've been doing a brewery. Mm-hmm. And what's the biggest surprise to you of jumping into this type of music and running a venue and being a promoter, really?
I don't want to necessarily say it's a surprise because, like I said, my husband was in a band for 6 years, and so I feel like I've seen a lot of it. I think the biggest challenge maybe is getting people aware.
We don't have the showcase anymore where you get to see the list of bands for the week, right?
Yeah, I know Erie Reader does a great job at promoting, and we are working with them with their ticketing space so that they'll come in and do interviews, and they've been really great supporters of us. Yeah, so I think I want to hear from Erie, like, what is it going to take for us to get to you? How are we going to reach you? How can we entice you to come out on a Wednesday or a Thursday? What are the shows you're looking for? What music genres do you want to hear? I again feel like since COVID, Erie shuts down at like 9 p.m. and they're like, we can't go out after 9. We're going to turn into a pumpkin. and so I don't know what it's, that has been the biggest surprise / challenge of finding the right way to get it to people that will see it and hear it and be like, oh no, this is here. We have it. Let's use it.
And do you anticipate things like, where we have the 3-4 universities? I mean, that'll be some of the bread and butter, and maybe outreach into the college scene and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I work at Gannon University, so I would really love it to be a space where we could have a college night or like college student discounts. Bringing my son actually, some of his friends showed up at the show on Wednesday, so they are hearing about it.
Okay.
I don't want to use my students. I want to share it with my students.
Yeah.
And again, so college nights, bringing them out. What do they want to hear? What will get them out? I mean, we're 2 blocks from Gannon, so it just makes sense. So I would hope that we can reach them at some point.
Someone's asking about the parking situation at Centennial Hall. What do you suggest?
So interestingly enough, Erie is an amazing parking city, at least around our space. Okay. So we have in our space, we have 2 parking lots that are ours. So after hours, they're completely open right off of both 12th Street and 11th Street. Off of 10th Street, the parking behind Mother Teresa's is open. It's a prep parking lot. It's actually open after hours. They're gracious enough. They open their gates. And then all of 11th Street, west of Sassafras, all it is parking lots.
Okay.
I mean, I would say that if you would drive down 11th Street, there's probably 500 parking spaces down 11th Street.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And they're all free. So
that's right.
Yeah.
When we went to go see to Bill Clinton, it was very easy to park, even with Secret Service all over the place.
Yeah, so we have tons of parking that people just don't realize is there, and it's 2 blocks. I mean, I went to a show in Buffalo, and I had to walk 6 blocks to even like through the pouring rain to even get there. I mean, we're blessed. We only have 1 block, the same block, 1 block, 2 blocks away. So we have the spaces, and those are all on our website. I have them like blocked off. You can actually see where the parking is.
And again, to get the latest events and to find out more, what's the website?
So centennialhallerie.com. Please work with us. It is not great. My husband's doing it right now. He's not a website designer. It is
Use
not
that AI.
It is not pretty. We're hoping to get that to be a little bit more updated and a little bit better, but it's functional. It works. All the ticket links are there. All the parking is there.
And the
all
schedule.
The events are there.
Yeah.
The schedule is there. So check it out. We're working on it. 1 step at a time. We can only move, the 2 of us.
Well.
Together,
you're making it happen. Nikki Lavery, again, from Centennial Hall, Lavery Brewing. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Pretty exciting stuff.
I appreciate you having us on this week. So
you got it. It is 6 minutes in front of 5 o'clock.